Hi, I'm Zachary Cowan, the author of the Steady Daily books, and thanks for joining me for a look at Doctrine and Covenants, Section 46. Section 46 has all kinds of history behind it. In the heading, we learn that many members of the church, when they were holding these meetings early on in Kirtland, they were devoid of leadership. The missionaries had baptized them and moved on. They didn't really know much of the revelations or how to do things. So one of the first things that crept into the church was this idea that meetings for the church were only for meetings for the church and that nobody else could attend. And so the Lord, in verses 1 through 6, comes in and he says, all right, how do we conduct these meetings? In verse 2, you do all things by the workings of the Spirit. We'll teach you what you need to do and how to direct these meetings. And then in verses 3 through 6, the Lord says, we don't want to cast anybody out of these meetings. Everybody is welcome to attend. And we want them to come, and as long as they are earnestly seeking to be a better person or earnestly seeking to attend for the right reasons, then absolutely they can come. They can be there. Well, what about if it's somebody who's been excommunicated? They can come, but they can't partake of the sacrament. And so the Lord gives really, really good detail there that we want people to come and gather with us, and it's beneficial for us to have them there with us, that it changes us. Now, because of this emphasis on feeling the Spirit, early converts in Kirtland were so excited because the church was introduced as having the gifts of the Spirit that anciently were found in the New Testament. Well, it caused some people to go a little beyond and see some enthusiasm. There was one man named Burr Riggs who during a meeting would go and he would stand underneath a beam, jump into it, knock himself out, and then wake up later an hour or two later and tell everybody of the fantastic visions he had. Others, when they would feel the Spirit, would writhe on the ground or try to move like snakes. Some would even jump up and run around buildings and then seek to imitate the actions of a baboon or even some of the traditions of Native Americans and act them out. Because of this, there was one man among the group named Levi Hancock who caused himself to say, is this really of God? Are these the spiritual gifts? I feel good in my heart and my mind when I read the Book of Mormon, but when I see others doing these physical manifestations of things, he said, I don't know if it's me or if it's them, but he was confused. And so when Joseph comes to Kirtland, these activities are going on, this enthusiastic worship. And so Joseph inquires the Lord, what exactly do we mean by spiritual gifts? Is it acting like a baboon? Is it whacking your head on a post and then coming to with revelations and visions? What are the spiritual gifts? So this section, the Lord's going to give us an introduction. Go ahead, pause your video. Check out Doctrine and Covenants, section 46, verses 7 through 12. How does the Lord introduce spiritual gifts? Hey, welcome back. Hope you found some great things in there that, yes, there are gifts of God and there's gifts of the devil, and you can discern which ones are good. Well, how do we know which ones are good? If they're beneficial for other people, if they're leading us in that direction, then we ought to thank God for them. We even ought to seek some of these gifts, that there's many different gifts, that they're given for benefit and for instruction and to help aid people. So you just consider that in your own life. What are the gifts that have been given to you or to others that have helped benefit you and you have used to benefit others, to help build them up, to strengthen them, to comfort them? All right, now the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is check out verses 13 through 25. Here you have 14 examples, and remember, there are many gifts. The Lord came out and said that, and everybody's got at least one, and you can seek for more. So here's some examples of some gifts. Go ahead, take some time in verses 13 through 25, mark and underline some of these gifts, and consider again, are there any way in which your life has been blessed or benefited because of these specific gifts that are mentioned? We'll see you in a minute. Hey, welcome back. I hope you found some great gifts in there. I always think it's interesting that in verse 13, you've got this, one of the gifts are those who know and can bear testimony. Like they know Jesus is the Christ and they have the ability to share it. Then in verse 14, you have people who can believe on their word. Well, if those in verse 13 don't use their gift, those in verse 14 can't use their gift. And then you've got other gifts like the administration of spirits. Here it is, sorry. The difference of administration, like you know how to organize things and to make the church run. In verse 16, the operations of diversity is like you can tell whether a gift's of God or whether it's not. Later on, you have the gift of discernment, like who's got what gifts and how to use them. The gift to have faith to heal and the gift to be healed. All of these gifts go together. Now remember, there are many, many gifts. Elder Ashton one time made mention and said, there's the gift of being agreeable and the gift of weeping and the gift of caring for others. There are hundreds of gifts out there that God is willing to grant. And you can become aware of some of these gifts in different ways. You can even seek some of these gifts. Now, after the Lord has gone through and he's listed some of these gifts, and the whole purpose for these gifts is to benefit the church, then he offers us a conclusion. And so in verses 26 through 33, the Lord goes through and he starts to say, hey, remember to use these gifts. The bishop will help you discover them, will put you in positions where you can use new gifts or acquire gifts or use your gifts to benefit others. The church, the president of the church, has the opportunity to receive all of these gifts, and people can go on and get them. And of course, God has all of these gifts. And then the Lord says this at the end of the section in verse 32, you must give thanks unto God in the Spirit for whatever blessings you are blessed with. If you read back over this section and look for the word give and given, you will see that God is constantly giving us great and good gifts. And if we offer thanks for them, rather than just being prideful and thinking that it's us, then we will see that God has given us gifts for the benefit of others. Well, what are some of the ways you can discover these gifts? You can seek for them. You can pray for them. You can fast and to know what they are. Also, a patriarchal blessing is a great way to know some of your gifts. I would encourage you, though, to also pay attention to what are some of the things that people who know you well, like family members, parents, siblings, leaders, teachers, coaches, bosses, frequently compliment you on. Those are probably some of your gifts. If you wanted to, you could even contact a person and say, what are some of the things that you feel I've been given that can really bless others? What are some of my gifts and abilities? And look for that in others. The people that are nearby you, what are their gifts and abilities that have benefited and blessed you? And then take time to tell somebody, thank you so much for this. You and the way you use this, it has really blessed my life. God has given lots of spiritual gifts for our aid and benefit. He even encourages us to seek them. What are the gifts and abilities you see in others that you would like? Are these some of the gifts that God would want you to seek? You might even ask him, do you want me to seek this? Would it help those around me if I were to get it? There are constant use for spiritual gifts, and God bestows them upon his children today for the benefit of others. God bless you as you use your gifts today and as you notice the gifts of others and how it helps you. All right, we'll see you next time as we study Doctrine and Covenants, section 47.